Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm really excited to talk about Star Wars Shadow of the Sith by Adam Christopher, a book that caught me off guard in the best way possible. Whether you're a longtime Star Wars fan or someone just getting into the expanded universe, this book has so much to offer. And don't worry, I'll keep this spoiler free so you can dive into the story fresh when you pick it up. Alright, let's set the stage. Shadow of the Sith takes place in that intriguing gap between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. This period is largely unexplored in the movies, which makes the book incredibly fascinating for filling in some key gaps in the Star Wars timeline. It gives us insight into what Luke Skywalker, Lando Calrissian and others were up to in the years after the Empire's fall. What really got me hooked was how Adam Christopher weaves together familiar elements of the Star Wars universe with new unexpected twists. You get that sense of nostalgia, but with a fresh perspective. This isn't just a rehash of old themes, it's expanding on the lore in ways that add real depth to the storylines we already love. And let's start with Luke Skywalker. I know, right? We all love Luke, and in Shadow of the Sith, he's at a really interesting point in his life. He's more experienced, wiser, but also dealing with the weight of his responsibilities as one of the last Jedi. You can feel the inner conflict he's facing as he tries to rebuild the Jedi Order while also confronting a mysterious and powerful dark side presence. One thing I loved about this portrayal of Luke is how human he feels. He's not the perfect hero, but that makes him more relatable. He's still struggling with doubt, with the legacies of the past, but he's also pushing forward, searching for answers. And it's through this journey that we get a lot of emotional depth. And then, of course, we have Lando Calrissian. Now, I won't give too much away, but Lando has a deeply personal mission in this story that brings out a side of him we don't always see. He's not just the suave, smooth-talking gambler we know from the original trilogy. In Shadow of the Sith, we see a more vulnerable Lando, one who's haunted by loss, but determined to make things right. His arc was one of my favorite parts of the book, I must say. Okay, now let's talk about the darkest side of the book. Shadow of the Sith introduces some seriously intriguing villains. I'm not going to spoil anything major, but there's a dark side force at play that is unlike anything we've seen in previous stories. And Adam Christopher really nails the atmosphere of tension and mystery, and there are moments that feel straight up eerie. There's one character in particular that embodies the creeping influence of the Sith, and their presence looms large over the story. It's almost like a shadow that follows the heroes, which keeps you on the edge throughout the book. I loved how the villains in Shadow of the Sith weren't just the usual one-dimensional bad guys. There's a lot of depth to their motivations and connections to the larger Star Wars mythos. And this book also dives into the mysteries surrounding Exegol, that dark and mysterious planet that you know from The Rise of Skywalker. And trust me, the way Adam Christopher handles it adds layers to what we already know. And there are so many aha moments that deepen our understanding of the events leading up to the sequels. One of the things that really impressed me about Shadow of the Sith was its tone. It balances that classic Star Wars adventure vibe with a more mature and introspective edge. And there's a real sense of weight to the story. Luke and Lando aren't just out there fighting bad guys. They're grappling with loss, legacy, and the uncertainties of the future. And for Lando, it's about redemption. He's haunted by something from his past, and the way this affects his decisions throughout the book adds real depth to his character. It's moments like these that make Shadow of the Sith more than just a fun Star Wars adventure. It's a story with heart and emotional stakes. And now let's talk about the world building. One of the reasons I love this book is how much it expands the Star Wars universe. We get to see planets and cultures that haven't been explored in detail before, and Adam Christopher does a fantastic job bringing these settings to life, making the galaxy feel even more vast and vibrant. We also get a deeper understanding of the Sith lore. This is something I was really curious about going into the book, and it didn't disappoint. There are moments where you learn more about the ancient Sith, their rituals, and how their influence has shaped events in the galaxy. It's the kind of detail that Star Wars fans love to sink their teeth into. And without spoiling anything, there's a lot here that ties directly into the larger Star Wars saga, especially The Rise of Skywalker. The way Shadow of the Sith fills in the gaps between the original trilogy and the sequels is really satisfying. If you ever had questions about how certain things came to be, like the origins of certain characters or the rise of certain powers, this book provides some really compelling answers. So, why do I love Star Wars Shadow of the Sith? For me, it's the perfect mix of everything I love about Star Wars. You've got the epic, larger-than-life action, but also these deeply personal stories of loss, redemption, and legacy. The characters feel real, the stakes are high, and the lore is just so rich. And what really stood out to me, though, is how this book respects and builds on the Star Wars mythology, while also taking it in new and exciting directions. It feels fresh, but also like a natural continuation of the story we've loved for decades. And to wrap it all up, Shadow of the Sith is an absolute must-read for any Star Wars fan. Whether you're a die-hard follower of the expanded universe or just curious about the events leading up to the sequel trilogy, this book offers something for everyone. It's action-packed, it's emotional, and it adds so much depth to the Star Wars saga. I highly recommend you check it out, and if you already read it, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Especially, what was your favorite part? Did you have any of those aha moments like I did? And I love to hear your take on it. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more Star Wars content and of course other book reviews. I've got a lot more to share and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Until next time, may the Force be with you, and the next video is right here in the end screen.